Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today we are going to be taking a look at Vechain and specifically the price action of the VET token. Guys, as we get into this, if you find it useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new, make sure you subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything we're doing here. Right, let's get into Vechain here and see exactly what's going on. Things are definitely looking like they're heating up, and I think we're going to start seeing a big push to the upside shortly here for Vechain. Let's just reevaluate what's going on here on this weekly chart. Okay, so we want to start things off by just taking a look and appreciating the price action that has happened so far, right? So from March 2020 through to April of 2021, we have seen 18,295%, which is significantly good. And obviously, I think that's a fantastic price discovery so far for Vechain. All-time highs have been hit consistently so far this year. We've had the pullback during this fourth wave, which is obviously fantastic because this allows us to accumulate all the way down here and is very much needed, right? We go from this overbought area here on the stochastic down to the oversold area, and we're progressing nicely back to the upside. This last 3-week dip that you see just over here, this has actually been pretty good. This allows us to kind of see these kind of corrections come in, and this is where we start to really see the next level get taken out. Okay, so nothing moves up in straight lines. You get these waves that push up, they pull back, they push up, they pull back, they push up, right? So really good motion so far. Obviously, we are talking about these impulse waves to the upside, right? All 5 of them. Elliott theory here. So one obviously was the first kind of push to the upside. The second wave is a first correction wave. And in the case of Vechain here, this was actually quite a flat correction. We then obviously had wave 3, which is where most people were really getting into Vechain. This is when the bigger YouTubers started actually talking about it. We were talking about it, down here, and basically other YouTubers were talking about it up this end, right? But this is fantastic. It allows for adoption. Obviously, the fourth wave correction was a steeper one, and this is because the second wave is flat. Okay, so if you've got to bear in mind, there's a rules with Elliott theory, right? And these impulse waves to the upside. The first rule that we have to acknowledge is that if wave 2 is flat, wave 4 will be sharp. And if wave 4 was flat, then wave 2 would have been sharp, okay? So, and they're always the opposite of each other, waves 2 and 4. Now, wave 2 is usually 50 to 60% of wave 1 as a correction, and wave 4 is usually 40% of your third wave correction, okay? So you can see how that's relatively on point. This one here was pretty much exactly where it needed to go, and this one was actually a little bit shallower, but approximately in that area. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we are pushing up to about $1 here, and that's what is shown technically on the Fibonacci 4.236 extension level. Okay, so taking the high of 3 and the low of 4, that plots out a price prediction of $1.01 for Vechain. This actually comes in at about 750% in gains, still left on the table. Okay, so even if you were buying at the high end of wave 3, there's still gains to be made as we finish this bull run nice and high. Okay, so gains, still plenty of time. The little dip that you see here right now is in line with what your expectations would be, and again, this would be basically, if we just grab our impulse waves, impulse wave 1, a 2, a 3, it'll be a sharp 4 somewhere up here, and then we go and finish off 5, right? Because there are waves within waves, and it's important that we acknowledge that, okay? And I'm not going to draw any more. It's just nice to know that on this weekly chart, everything is progressing as expected. Okay, there's nothing here that's too alarming at the moment. We can see that we are heading to the overbought area, slight pullback on that stochastic RSI, but otherwise, actually, things are progressing nicely. We can actually spend a bit of time at the top here before actually going into that bear market later on. Okay, and again, if we take a look at this third wave, we actually got all the way up to this overbought area very, very early on. We had a small pullback on the stochastic RSI without actually doing any damage to the price. Right? We have these little kind of red candles here and there, just correcting technically where we need to. Profits were being taken, and then basically they're progressing up until we peaked out at the top here. So you'll see something very similar here on this fifth wave to the upside. You'll see little corrections come in. But it won't be too much price damage. It will just be frustrations, and a few people will be shaken out of the market thinking that you're going into a bear market, all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, actually, things are progressing nicely, targeting still $1. That hasn't changed over the months, and everything is still progressing as expected. So when we actually jump down into our daily view, Here we can see, what's been going on most recently. And the reason why I think we're imminent for a huge price spike here for VeChain is that we're oversold on this daily chart. This is something that we needed to see happen. I've been talking about it for a while. What we saw was this progression to the upside, right? But it's unsustainable. We're up in the overbought area for a very long time. And I've been saying for a while, we need to prepare ourselves for the pullback, right? And well, here you see a nice pullback just happening here, taking us down to the oversold area. And then we start to kind of trade sideways. It's actually a bit of a downward trend and a bit of an upward trend here. And we'll get into that on the hourly. There are some interesting things forming there, which I think is going to be the catalyst for the big push to the upside. Okay, so for the most part, we're finding good support now on 11.1 cents. We're currently trading at 11.9. And again, this is just slipping down a little bit from where it was. But again, this is actually putting us in a really good position on our daily and our hourly stochastic RSIs. And of course, if we take these ones off and we actually throw on the normal relative strength index, you can also see this correction coming in nicely now as well. So we can continue to kind of trade sideways for a little bit, but I think the break to the upside is imminent now, and we're getting very, very close to it. I'm going to give you kind of my thoughts on timelines on the hourly in a moment, but yeah, everything here is looking pretty good from that kind of perspective. Now I will take that one back off and throw back on our stochastic so we can see exactly where we are there. Okay, so other than that, obviously the next thing we need to talk about on this daily chart is obviously here's the 4.236, $1.01 is the price target. And again, we'd like to basically make sure that we are taking out a few of these areas en route. We're still on the way up, not on the way down. That being said, though, you can, of course, if you do miss the selling points, sell on the bounce. And, we actually did cover this over on the members section of the channel. So if anyone wants to know how to potentially still make profit after the peak of the bull run has come in, then do check that video. It'll help protect those profits on the way down. Okay, right. So the other thing that we'll need to acknowledge is the area that we are looking to kind of get the closed candle above. That's going to be above here at 21.5 cents. Okay, so this is the area that the most of the hard work is actually going to happen. Getting this closed candle is the catalyst that helps push VeChain to the next level. We can see that we're approaching it, but we are getting resistance up here at 13.9 cents. Which is the 382 area of the Fibonacci. Okay, so a bit of work has to happen before we get here, but once we're above this area, I'm very confident that we're going to start seeing some pretty good price discovery and new all-time highs get set for VeChain very shortly after that. So everything on this daily chart is actually progressing quite nicely. And again, just sideways trading here really just helps us get ready for that next step. Now, when we actually jump down into our hourly view, let me just expand this up a little bit so we can see what's going on here. This is where things get really interesting, okay? Because here we can see there's a downward trend forming to the downside, and then obviously we can see there's an upward trend, and this upward trend actually comes all the way from down here and basically is then just being tested right now. But what's really interesting about this trend line, in line with our support that's down here at 11.5 cents, is that it are actually forming this triangular wedge right here against the resistance, okay? And that would basically be your catalyst for huge push to the upside, okay? So this trading sideways in here would be key to actually continuing that push. Now, we obviously are oversold again on this hourly chart as well. So if we are to basically push up and then continue this sideways trading in here, I would say that by probably the second week in September, we should see a pretty good push to the upside here for VeChain, taking out some of these next levels. Of course, if our downward trend does hold, then actually it will happen a little bit earlier. And in which case you're talking about probably the 4th of September, there should be a break to the upside at that point there. Okay, so there's lots to play for here on the shorter time frames. We are only really days away before we start seeing this next push for VeChain to the upside. And again, I like to think that we're going to be pushing through 13.2 and targeting this 14.1. This is the next area of resistance where I think we'll have a small pullback. And then we'll start to see a bigger kind of then push back to the upside at 15.1. Like I said, there's quite a few areas that we need to talk about before we even get into our yellow box area up here. So we've got to kind of take little baby steps at a time here for VeChain until it gets past these key areas. Once it's past the 786 on the Fibonacci, you'll start to see something like like what Cardano has been doing, gets push, smaller corrections until we need the bigger correction to occur yet again. So what we're looking for is a very similar kind of thing that we've seen previously, where we saw this triangular wedge form, the break to the upside, and then basically these parabolic, well, not really parabolic, but good moves to the upside, find good support, resistance, bounce from it, and continue the growth. This slip to the downside here basically now just forms another triangular wedge, which could be the catalyst that then takes us up to the next level. And getting this closed candle here is the one that's really key for us to push VeChain to those all-time highs that we've been waiting for. So everything is still going along to plan, and if we're ever in doubt, it's important that we do just zoom out to that weekly chart, right? Pay attention to what is going on with the 5 waves to the upside, and really think about how we are going to be going to this dollar level, right? It's not going to be something that happens overnight. We obviously do update videos like this to let everyone know what to expect on the smaller timeframes, to make sure that everything is going according to plan. Everything is going according to plan. There is nothing that is deviated away from that. We are still targeting $1.01, and I think we're going to see that by the end of the year, beginning of next, at the end of the bull run. So another 750% gains are incoming. Guys, if you do find this video useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit the like button. I really appreciate that. If you are new, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. Guys, with that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.